Good morning. Welcome to Church of the River. I'm Courtney Staub. I use he. No, I don't. I use she, her, and hers pronouns. But I'm pronoun curious, so tell me what you think. You are all welcome here today. In the rich assortment of languages, cultures, and hues, each contributing to the mosaic of our shared humanity. You are welcome here. In the various ways you navigate and express your gender, in the authenticity of your self-expression, you are welcome here. In the depth and breadth of your love, in the myriad forms it takes, you are welcome here. Whether your heart brims with laughter or weighs heavy with tears, in every emotion you bring to this sacred space, you are welcome here. So come, join us with open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. Together, we embark on this journey of community and connection together. You are welcome here today. Everyone is encouraged to engage with our soul work materials. They can be found on the bookshelf at the rear of the sanctuary. Many folks of all ages find that busy hands make for a calm body and focused mind. If you are new here, we're glad that you found us and hope that in this community you may experience the warmth and love of this congregation. If you'd like to learn more about us, you can fill out our newcomer form by scanning the QR code in your order of service. We also invite you to pick up a welcome bag from the credenza, also at the back of the church on your way out. Beautiful Paula Turner is holding up a welcome bag if you want to see what it looks like. Please take note of the announcements printed in your order of service, and you can also scan the QR code in the order of service to see the full list of announcements in this week's newsletter. I now invite the music of our choir to draw us deeper into this moment as we enter into worship together.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Lynn Hopkins. It is my honor to serve this congregation as its interim minister as we gather here this morning on the unceded land of the Chickasaw and Quapaw people. I'd like to invite you into this hour of worship with words from Melanie Davis. If ever there was a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice. Please speak with me the chalice lighting words printed in your order of service. We light this chalice
For the challenge of freedom, the goal of equality, and the warmth of community. May all who gather here offer and find the blessings of acceptance, loving kindness, and a grateful heart.
Please rise as you are willing and able and join in singing number 164, The Peace Not Past Our Understanding.
There we go. Good morning, everyone, for the third time. I am Jessica Lakeman. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as your Director of Lifespan Faith Development. Is that right, Reverend Lynn?
Excuse me just a moment while I interrupt. It is my enormous pleasure to announce to you that our acting director of lifespan development is no longer acting. By approval of the board at my strong urging, she is now our director of lifespan development.
Thank you, Reverend Lynn, and thank you, board. It's been a good time, and I'm coming up on 2 years here. So it is good to be with you again this morning. This morning, I have a story for you. Once upon a time, there was a little pond at the edge of a village. In the early mornings, the pond was so still, it looked like a mirror. You could see the sky, the clouds, even your own reflection. One day, a group of children gathered by the water. They were talking about the world and how sometimes it feels full of arguing and fighting and unfairness. One of the children sighed. I wish I could make the world more peaceful, but I'm just a kid. I'm just one person. I can't do anything. Another child bent down and picked up a pebble and tossed it into the pond. The children watched as the circles spread out wider and wider and wider until they touched every edge of the water. Look, the child said, I can't control the whole pond, but one action makes ripples. My choices do matter. Soon, each child picked up a pebble. One said that my story is gone. One said, when I treat people fairly, that's a ripple. Another said, when I listen to someone different from me, that's a ripple. Another, when I speak up for fairness, that's a ripple. When I care for the earth, that's a ripple. And one by one, they tossed their pebbles into the water, and the ripples began to overlap, meeting and joining until the whole pond was moving. The children realized none of them could control the whole world, but each of them had the power to create ripples of peace. And when their ripples joined together, something big could begin to change. So let me ask you, what is one way that you could make a ripple of peace this week? What's one thing you could do? Call a friend. Yes. What else? What's one thing you could do? Give to someone in need. Yes, thank you, Reverend Lynn. Yes. If someone is new, then show them around. Yes, absolutely. And here in our congregation, we make ripples all the time. When the choir sings and lifts our spirits, when we host a booth at Pride like we did last Sunday. And every time an adult shares a story or a lesson or just their listening ear with our children, each one of those is like tossing another pebble into our collective pond. The ripples of compassion, justice, and peace spread far beyond these walls, further than we could see. So maybe the International Day of Peace isn't only about governments and world leaders. Maybe it's about us, about each one of us choosing peace again and again and again, letting our ripples meet. So now, as we send our children out to their classes, I invite all of the grown-ups to raise your blessing hands in the air and repeat after me. You are beloved. You are sacred. You are powerful. Go in peace.
You may or may not have noticed this morning things feel a little bit more chaotic or frenzied than usual in light of our network being completely broken, which also means I cannot print anything this morning. So please bear with me in my awkwardness as I carry about my MacBook. A reading this morning from High Conflict, a book which I heartily recommend. High conflict is different from the useful friction of healthy conflict. That's good conflict, and it's a force that pushes us to be better people. Good conflict is not the same thing as forgiveness. It has nothing to do with surrender. It can be stressful and heated, but our dignity remains intact. Good conflict does not collapse into caricature. We remain open to the reality that none of us has all the answers to everything all the time, and that we are all connected. We need healthy conflict in order to defend ourselves, to understand each other, and to improve. These days, we need more of it, not less. Again and again in research spanning different continents, people in high conflict explain their frustrations as a justifiable response to the other side's initial aggression. Regardless of the facts, both sides see themselves as acting defensively somehow. They find themselves returning to the feud over and over, itemizing the indignities, tending to it like a fire. The goal is to understand high conflict better so we can see it coming and help ourselves or others shift out of it if we want to, which leads to the most interesting mystery of all. People do escape high conflict. Individuals, even entire communities, find ways to short-circuit the feedback loops. They don't suddenly agree, and this is important. They don't surrender their beliefs, nor do they defect, switching from one position to the opposite extreme. Instead, they do something much more interesting. They become capable of understanding that with which they still disagree. Like someone who learns a second language, they start to hear the other side without compromising their own beliefs. And that changes everything. Curiosity returns, humanity revives, IQs go back up. Conflict becomes necessary and good instead of just draining. We need some heat to survive, to illuminate what we've gotten wrong and protect ourselves from predators. We need turbulent city council meetings, strained date night dinners, protests and strikes, clashes in boardrooms and guidance counselor offices. People who try to live without any conflict, who never argue or mourn, tend to implode sooner or later. Living without conflict is like living without love, cold and eventually unbearable. But if conflict shifts into high conflict, it can burn down the whole damn house. The distinction matters. Now, I'm doing something a little different again today. Last week I introduced the joys and sorrows ritual, and I want to invite you to write down things that you would like spoken aloud from the pulpit during this ritual. If you would just put your name and what is on your heart and put it in the offering basket. The ushers will bring me what we have. Now, my plan was, before the system refused to connect this morning, I had little slips that were going to be all there, and they were forms. You could just fill in the blanks. And that didn't work. But there are slips of paper in the baskets at the end of the pews, as well as in some of the racks. In the basket, there's also pens. I'm going to keep talking for just a minute so that you have time to do this if you would like. I also have some spare pens up here. If you can't locate one, just let me know. It just write on the back or in the margins of whatever paper there is there, and next week, so help me, I promise, we will have an appropriate way of recording and expressing these things. And so, now, we will engage in that one sacrament of Unitarian Universalism, the action through which we share our personal power with the body of which we are a part. We call it the offering, which is a little bit of an antiquated term because we don't give our goods up to God. Rather, what we are doing this morning is sharing a bit of ourselves with one another investing in who and what we are. And so, as the choir sings and we pass the baskets this morning, I invite you to be as generous as you are able. There are other opportunities to contribute through our website. Let us begin.
You
And so this is a moment in our service in which we lift up and let go the things that we carry with us through the week. Not to say we won't pick them up again, but in this moment, a time of communal prayer, we come together. I am grateful this morning for the very hard work folks did all day yesterday, getting those trailers out there completely emptied. And I awakened with sadness to the news of yet another shooting, this time at a country club wedding. My heart breaks for our nation and its people. Courtney is praying for my trans daughter. Another lifts up transgender members in search for acceptance. Jennifer King, I am sorrowful for the state of our nation and how with each headline it seems to only get worse. I have joyful hope somewhere deep inside when I gather with people that they truly care about others and know that love and peace will always win in the end. From T. Lee, my friend Nancy Martis lost her beloved dog this week. And Joy, our daughter Chloe, got a promotion this week. And she also expresses gratitude for everyone who helps with the cleanup. Danny shares, the ripple effect reminds me of Grandmother Willow in the story of Pocahontas. I think it's a helpful reminder of how one person can make a difference, how the smaller actions are often more powerful because they all add together. The world feels like it's on fire, but the people in the world are still good. Mostly, we all want our home to be a better, more peaceful place, I think, and that's how we can connect despite differences. From Richard, loving response. From Kaylee Ann, praying safety and freedom. A stone of joy for my brother-in-law who suffered a severe TBI last Saturday and opened his eyes, signaling no more coma yesterday. From Ashley Fournier, good night. Russell Casey lifts up being judged negatively by your peers, learning to forgive myself. And Nancy Martis shared, Tuesday I lost my precious dog, Lily. She crossed the Rainbow Bridge after 13 and a half years of sharing joy with me. And another joy, wind down on Thursday night at my Dragonfly Cottage, 13 dear women came. From Jessica, spoiler alert, the light wins. I invite you to come in silence if you would like to take a stone from the bowl and release it into the cleansing waters of our gathered community. And if there is something that you carry this morning that you are not ready to bring, it would be my great honor to drop a stone on your behalf if you will indicate by raising a hand. Please join me in a moment of prayer as we hold one another in our hearts. May we know peace in the suffering of loss, in the anguish of fear. May we find solace as we engage with one another both inside and beyond this community. May we speak peace. As we encounter those who are suffering, those who are angry, those who are fearful, may our presence offer peace in this broken world. Amen. Please remain seated and join me, if you will, in singing our congregational response. It's number 123 in your gray hymnal, Spirit of Life. Peace, peace, they say, when there is no peace. Are they ashamed of their detestable conduct? No, they have no shame at all. They do not even know how to blush. Soon they will fall among the fallen. They will be brought down when I punish them, says the Lord. That is from Jeremiah 6. An interesting note about the prophets as recorded in the Hebrew scriptures. Now, there are many different ways of reading the scriptures, but I have always leaned toward what's known as historical criticism. Reading and understanding in the context of what was going on at the time. And the prophets, their testimony is recorded, of course, much, much later, first passed down word of mouth. But the interesting part is the prophets tell of things that have already happened. It is a way that the people made sense of horrible events, and wonderful ones too, by inserting words and interpretations into the teachings of the great prophets. So Jeremiah is talking about Jerusalem once again acting up. And he warns that armies from the north are going to come and destroy the city, so you better run. Unfortunately, we do not have the luxury of living our lives in retrospect. We can't say exactly how all of this is going to turn out. And to the extent that anyone ever makes sense of these days that we are in, we certainly cannot see clearly now or agree on how we got here or what to do about it. But this is today the International Day of Peace. The United Nations created it, and every year they have a theme. And this year the theme is Act for Peace. Take action. And their website is full of ideas, some of them useful, easy, accessible. Some of them sound quite daunting or difficult to imagine, but full of suggestions for people in various contexts. Act. This is not a day to think about, talk about, pray about, sing about peace only. Take action for peace. Of course, the United Nations is mostly concerned about, well, nations, right? States, armies, actual warfare, and the suffering of peoples in occupied lands or lands under assault. Most of us don't have any direct involvement in these things. I may be deeply concerned about what's going on in Gaza, in Ukraine, in South Sudan, in a dozen other places. But I'm not going to go there. And even if I could, I have no idea what I would do. I couldn't be much help with those things. But usefully, helpfully, the United Nations toolkit reminds us that there are so many ways right here to wage peace. There can be no peace on the larger scale until there is peace right at home. How do we do that? Is it true that if I toss a pebble metaphorically, if I warmly greet someone or do them a favor or give an anonymous gift, that peace spreads? The trouble here is, of course, that we are never aware of the actual consequences of most of our actions. You just don't know. I cannot even number the people that today I wish I could go back in time and say thank you to. Because at the time I had no idea how powerful their influence would be on my life. You're doing that too, right now, touching people's lives in ways you cannot know. It is easy to feel powerless. And in one sense, it's true. You are powerless, utterly powerless over the actions of anyone else. We can do things to try to evoke a certain feeling in someone and perhaps inspire better behavior, but honestly, you have no control over the actions of anyone else. But on the other hand, you also have all power. You have all power because no one else has control over your actions. Short of compelling you to die, there is nothing that anyone can actually compel you to do. This was the central reality, the truth, the cornerstone of creative nonviolence, civil disobedience. They can insist, they can legislate, they can even incarcerate, but they cannot make you do anything. And so, the challenge becomes, how do we, you and I, in our daily lives, cultivate peace to such an extent that wherever we show up, it spreads? We cannot do it in isolation. We cannot do it if we remain only among our own kind. I am aware, I have seen the messaging from the far right that suggests that diversity is a path to violence. And I say clearly the opposite is true. Segregation, isolation, tribalism is how we make violence. It always has been. When we reinforce a particular aspect of our identity, a tiny piece of our humanity, we cultivate violence. That's what white supremacy is all about. Be among your own kind so that you can more clearly see the other, us versus them. The way that we begin to erode this culture of violence, I don't have a magic wand or a sound formula or a prescription. But I do know, and I am certain of this, the way that we begin to do that is to expose ourselves to people different from us in some substantial way and expose them to us. There have been instances of forced integration that have actually increased animosity among groups. It's not a cure-all. The conditions have to be right. One of the conditions has to be we are in states of essentially equal power. We don't do it by trying to shame or humiliate someone else. Taking someone's power is momentary and feels good, but it makes matters worse. We do it by sitting down together, having meals together, talking about things we have in common. Because once you understand and know somebody, it becomes virtually impossible to hate them. The most important ingredient to reinforcing animosity, hatred, and violence in our culture is don't talk to each other. Now, in a world where everybody's packing, I don't recommend walking up and trying to shake the hand of somebody who doesn't want anything to do with you. I'm not suggesting anything crazy, nor am I suggesting subjecting yourself to someone who denies your humanity. I deal with enough of those people in my life. That's my job. It ain't yours. But just to begin to have conversations with each other. Food is a great way to do it. It's not the only way, but it's a really good start. So we're looking at ways to get together with the community of faith congregation that meets here twice a month for a shared meal so we can just get acquainted. That's where it starts. Of course, you're familiar with the teachings of Dr. King, who reminded us that peace is not merely the absence of violence, tension, confusion, but rather the presence of justice, equity, inclusion, community, connection. That's where peace comes from. And as I think about this congregation meeting with another congregation that is demographically very different, I'm also thinking about this congregation meeting with this congregation. Now, as I look out at you, you pretty much look alike most. I mean, we're a largely white group, right? But We are different people. And you do not get to know each other by sitting in a pew on Sunday morning for an hour. You don't even get to know other people by sitting in a pew on Sunday morning for an hour and also an adult religious education class for an hour. That just isn't enough. In order for this congregation to have the sort of foundation it needs, it must come to know peace. It's going to involve some good conflict, some awkward, uncomfortable truth-telling, maybe even some hurt feelings, but in a way that is healthy, affirming, compassionate. We need to get together and talk to each other. We need to be able to see the ways in which we are understanding the world and this immediate world very differently from each other. Because it's true what Amanda Ripley tells us in that selection, that what happens in good conflict is that people begin to be able to see things that they could not otherwise see. Humanity revives and IQs go up. And connections get built. A congregation necessarily depends on connections within itself. And once you have that and know it and can stand on it and depend on it, once you know that there is a place you can go once a week, doesn't have to be church, it could be anywhere, but once you know there is a place you can go for assurance, compassion, connection, then you are empowered and stronger and more confident to live in the vulnerability and humility that it takes to wage peace. We've got a lot of work to do in this chaotic nation of ours, in this challenged state of Tennessee, in this fraught city of Memphis, and within this congregation. But oh my God, so much is possible if we set about this work with intention and love. Let's keep doing the right thing as best we can and wage peace together. May it be so. I invite you to rise and sing with me that fabulous anthem. It is number 169 in your gray hymnal, We Shall Overcome.
Oh,
I invite you to join me as we extinguish our chalice and conclude our service. As we extinguish this flame, may the spirit of freedom guide our actions. May equality be our constant pursuit. And may the bonds of being strong. May we carry the blessings, acceptance, loving kindness, and a grateful heart with us, that we may offer them to a bruised and hurting world.
Peace be with you in all that you do, as you stand and sit and lie down, as you eat and work. Peace above and below, before and behind. Peace. Our service has ended. May our service